Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today, we are speaking with Dawn Long, whose passion is to empower women to become unstoppable. I love that. She's also the host of Your Transformational Journey. So welcome, Dawn, to the show.
Thank you for having me on, Jill. And yeah, I do talk women into becoming unstoppable. It's one of the things that I work on, and I want to spread that message because we are a whole lot more than what we think we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And everybody's got something so unique to share. It's just, it's so fun. I know that you interview a lot of coaches on your podcast too. Yeah. And just hearing everybody's unique story is just like so heart lifting.
It is. It's definitely, I've interviewed quite a few people, and one of the interviews I just done actually just released on Wednesday, and he was formerly incarcerated, and he took his life, turned it around, and now him and his wife have a cafe that is called Frisky Cats Cafe out in California, and he also just started his own publishing company. And it's stories like that is why I do what I do, is to hear those stories of people coming back from the bottom and being able to show redemption from that.
Yes. I love the name. That's so fun. But it's an amazing story. So let's hear your story. How did you get started?
So my story, how I got started, is because my youngest was incarcerated, and I went through a really, really dark period. And for those of you listening out there, if you have incarcerated loved ones, you understand what I'm talking about when it was really the dark night of the soul journey. And when I realized that there's not that much support for us moms that have loved ones incarcerated, and I was going like, I need to change that. I need to show these women that they can come from where I was, and if I have to give you a hand, I will grab your hand, I will pull you up. And when I realized the lack of that out there, I was going, all right, it's time to change that, and to get the story out there of saying, hey, Mama, you can go through the hard things and you can come out on the other side. And when you come out on the other side, not only you are unstoppable, you're also the beacon of hope to other ones around you. Yeah, so that's why I'm doing it.
I'm so glad that you are. And people being imprisoned, prison to me was at one point, it was supposed to be a deterrent, but these days it's not. It's just a random punishment that if you don't have a really good lawyer, you're going to jail. And sometimes you'll run into prosecutors that'll just keep putting you back up there until you run out of money, and then they'll put you in jail. It's not a fair and just system anymore. No. You look around and the fact that they just go out of their way to make life miserable for everybody around the incarcerated person is just like, it's just a travesty.
It is.
I'm so glad that you're stepping up and helping these people and to be able to navigate things like that. Because
Yeah. And it's definitely been one of the reasons why, and to see and to be able to help women and say, hey, you can do this. And I love seeing the looks on their faces when that light bulb moment comes on. And that's where breaking generational patterns comes in and doing the inner child work. And for those of you listening, if you don't know what breaking generational patterns is about, it's about breaking the past patterns. And it may not have anything to do with you, in all honesty. It has to do what was happening in the families in the past and those patterns that we just keep picking up. One I love to use because everybody can identify with this, especially if you're in my age group. Growing up, we got told money does not grow on trees. That's a pattern. And that puts you in a poverty mindset because we're going like, okay, so we have to work really hard for things. In reality, we don't have to work as hard as what you think you do in order to have a really good life. And that's what led me to doing that, because now not only are you breaking the patterns of abuse, you're breaking the patterns of I was not educated on certain things, breaking that pattern and giving them that ability, that foundation to be able to say, okay, I can start building from that foundation. And how you build from that foundation is doing inner child work. And I know some people foo-foo it, but it's really important because you're saying and going back and talking to whatever age that you want to go back to. For me, it was age 4. And I always love to tell people, and I think I'm going to put this in a book. I wanted to be a brain surgeon at the age of 4. And it was because I knew I could fix people, because I knew people were broken. How a 4-year-old figures that out, I have no idea, but I did. And being able to say, okay, we're going to go back and we're going to take this child's hand and we're going to look them in the eye and we're going to say, it is okay. I am here to protect you now. And you can stop trying to keep me safe. Because in reality, that's what we're trying to do. We're still trying to keep ourselves safe because we may have been raised in environments that was not.
and you did become a brain surgeon, just not the
And
way
so
the
to speak, yes,
4-year-old,
I did.
not the way the 4-year-old probably imagined it, but it might have actually been the way she imagined it.
Yeah. And the
Because
only reason I remember that particular tidbit is because my mom told me she had gotten me, or Santa Claus had gotten me, but she had really gotten me a chalkboard for Christmas. And I was just in there writing and she just read it and she just like busted up laughing, because that was, one of the things for parents, a child that's learning how to write. And I was just putting all of my thoughts out there. And she told me about that, I want to say a good 5 or 6 years before she passed away. She told me that story. And I thought it was hilarious because I was going like, how in the world? But now looking at it on a deeper level, on a spiritual level, there was a reason why I was writing that down.
that is so cool. And again, you, in some ways you have fulfilled that. It's
Yeah.
the putting things out there, they really do come true. And you just have to be aware of what's happening in the ebb and flow of things.
Yeah.
So how does the generational patterns thing work in
So
terms of
how it works is it takes the client or the person through
Mhm.
what kind of things that they are constantly seeing, that they're constantly repeating. Whether it be, so I'm going to use myself as an example. I used to have what I personally call is the negative committee in my brain. We have a way of going through the things and saying, what if? And it's always the negative what if. What if somebody dies? What if I lose my job? What if this thing doesn't turn out right? And I started noticing before all of everybody started talking about manifestation and how to do all of that and how to really get into your brain. I was going like, why am I constantly going for the doomsday? That's what I call it. The doomsday. Why am I constantly doing that? And I started saying, okay, when my negative thoughts would start, then I would just flip it and reverse it. I'd be like, okay, we're not doing this today. This is what I'm grateful for, and start building that up and start showing gratitude. And it took a while. I'm not going to say this is a 1-day fix because it's not. It took me a good year before I finally had a handle on I wasn't constantly thinking negative thoughts. And my life was really going really well. It's just my past generational trauma that I grew up with is I had a mom that unfortunately had a harsher mom because they grew up during the time of right after the Depression and having to deal with the lack of that and having to deal, there was no mental health resources. If you did have it, they were thrown into a mental hospital and experimented on. And going through all of that family trauma and going through the abuse trauma that happened through the family and through myself. And I was going like, okay, this has to stop. So I noticed that pattern. I was going like, what can I do to break that? And what can I do to fix it to where it's not happening again? And I will tell your listeners, once you break those patterns, if you have kids or grandkids, they don't have to worry about that anymore because you broke that.
Yeah, it's such a gift to future generations. And in a way, it's a gift to past generations if they're still around. And even if they're not still around, I went through a lot of trauma with my own mom, and I've reached a point of peace. It's like I was angry for a lot of years at her, but then I came to the point where it was just like, it doesn't do any good to be angry with her. And what she did made me who I am today. I would be somebody totally different, and that wouldn't probably have benefited me in the long run. So it's like you can look at all these negative things going on and you can think, woe is me, and wait for somebody to rescue you, or you can be your own hero and just buckle up and get help. And there's lots of help around right now. There's people like you out there, Dawn, that are offering to guide people along a path to help them, really empower them to make a difference in the world, in their own lives. But when you change your life, the ripple effect is tremendous.
Yes, it is. And it's one of those aha moments when you realize the things that you can actually change. Nobody can make you happy but you. Nobody is in charge of your life but you. And even though we may have had an upbringing that wasn't ideal, and I'm like you, if I hadn't have gone through that, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today. Because I did go through that, I can now understand where others are coming from. I can understand where my mom was coming from. And I believe when you start understanding where your parents and your grandparents come from, that is true growth. And it will be able to show you the way out of the things that you were in. And I'm not going to say that you're not going to backslide, because some of us do. This whole healing journey of breaking patterns and doing inner child work takes a long time. I've literally been doing this now for over 15 years. And I think this year is the first year where I really feel like I've actually got it together.
It does take time, and it just starts with like one decision in one little spot. You make a change in one spot, and then you start getting a little bit of traction with that. Maybe it's just recognizing every time you're having negative thought patterns.
Yes.
Which is it's totally, I'm going to say it's normal. It's not necessarily natural,
Yeah.
but it's the way we have been raised. We run these thought loops through our head and we beat ourselves up and we want things to be different than they are. And we just run those loops, run those loops, run those loops. But when you start to recognize running those loops, change, really substantial change can happen quickly.
Yeah. It can. And one of my favorite ways of doing that is if you find yourself with negative thoughts, get a piece of paper, write them all down, what I call a brain dump. Do a brain dump.
Mhm.
Don't read through it. What you're going to do is you're going to crumple that paper up and then you're going to throw it in the fire. I love that technique because number one, you're seeing what is going away. It's turning into ashes. It is no longer benefiting from you. Or a phrase I just heard the other day, unsubscribe. Unsubscribe from that thought. Unsubscribe from that thought pattern. And once you unsubscribe from it, then you can subscribe to the thought pattern that actually brings you joy, fulfills you, brings you positivity, and allows you to see things that you normally wouldn't see. And I tell you what, the universe will bring it to you. Universe, God, however you want to put it, however you manifest it, it will come to you and your life turns into so much more. And you'll start getting a whole lot of different things coming in the path of your life, like a different career or a different thing that you're wanting to work on or a passion project that you have found. It's all of those things so wrapped up into getting rid of all of the things and working on yourself that you really understand that, holy cow, you can shine and there's nobody to stop you.
And when you're busy looking at all the negative things, you miss all the beautiful things that are coming your way. You just get so absorbed in that mindset. But when you turn that mindset off, things just like magically appear.
Yeah.
You become aware of what's around you. You become more present, they talk about, being in the moment. But you can be in the moment when your thoughts aren't racing around trying to drag you down. And it's just, it's a beautiful thing. You can appreciate just sitting outside and putting your feet on the grass and smelling the air and watching the wind whistle through the leaves. It's like there's so many beautiful moments every day that we miss because we're busy worrying or doing the what ifs on the negative
Exactly.
side.
The woulda, coulda, shouldas. And I was going like, I'm done with the should haves. I'm done
Yeah.
with it. And I love going outside. That's usually my evening ritual when I come home from work. So those of you that are listening, even if it's just outside your apartment complex in your by patio, go put your feet in the grass. It will change how you feel so much. And I was just doing that the other day and I was really in awe because we live on 5 acres and there's a really cute little spot that I love to go sit down, meditate, get through my day. And I love that spot because we have deer that love to come through. And every so often when I sit down there, I see these deer and I was going like, I see those different signs, and to see nature is awe-inspiring what can be out your back door. And once you start noticing those things, like for me, one of my signs I asked for was rainbows. I have seen so many freaking rainbows this last week and a half. It is insane. And that is what letting go of the negative will do for you because you'll realize you can have the life you want. I was just thinking about that on the drive when I was thinking about this podcast. I really went through a list of things that I have asked for that I've received, all because I've done the work. I've gotten 4 different jobs that I asked for, received them. I received a car I asked for. I received the house that I've wanted, along with the land. And the list just goes on. And it's all because I've done that inner work to be able to do that. And if you're thinking this is overwhelming, start with one really small thing to start building that foundation. Let's say pick a rainbow or pick your favorite number. I'm a numbers person, so I constantly see repeating numbers all the time. So throw it out there and you'll be shocked at what comes your
Got to
way.
look for them too.
Yes, you do. You got to be
ask,
intentional about it.
and sometimes weird things will happen. Like I can remember one time I was out in the backyard and I wanted rain. And I was talking to the clouds and God, or whatever you want to call it. And it made it rain just over the spot I was in. I mean, it was enough that I felt the drops and I knew that it was only raining in like a 5-foot radius. And I laughed. I thought it was
so
hilarious.
That
and
is
I
so
feel
fun.
trees because
yeah.
I just talked to them. I had this pear tree that I loved, and you can have relationships with trees. I know
yes.
it sounds silly, but they're just amazing beings. They're trees, but they have interactions with each other, and they have offspring, and they care for their offspring, and they do listen to you. And this pear tree, it had blight, and it was really in bad shape. And I just talked to it. It's like, please heal. And I talked to it every day. And the next season, there wasn't any blight on it. It's still standing.
That is like 6 years awesome. That is awesome. I love trees too. And I can pretty much agree with you on that. Trees have souls. Trees hear us. And every once in a while, they'll wave at you if you pay attention.
I go out every night and sit in my backyard under this linden tree, and they have the best, most fragrant flowers in the world. That's their signature thing. This tree smells amazing in the spring, early summer. It's just like takes your breath away. Anyway, so we sit out there, and then we have these poplar trees, which have kind of big leaves that shimmer in the wind. And it's just like just watching the glitter show. We sit out there for like an hour and a half, because it's just like talk.
Yeah.
Put our feet in the grass.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all part of your healing as a person, is to take time for that self-care. If you're not a put your foot in the grass type person, at least give yourself some time to sit outside, take your favorite book, take your favorite beverage, whatever it is, take that time. And when you take that time for yourself, you give yourself that time to de-stress. You give yourself time to percolate all of the things that you're learning. And you're also giving yourself time to say, what do I want to work on? Or what is in my future? Start dreaming, dream big. It's just like, we just literally had a $1.586 billion lottery that somebody won in Florida. And of course, you bet I went and bought a ticket, and I dreamed. That was the whole thing. Whether I won it or not, it was the dream of dreaming to acquire that amount of cash flow. And all you have to do is allow yourself to do that. Do you want to be a writer? Start dreaming about that. What do you want to do? Do you want to have a passion project? Start dreaming about that. And when you allow yourself to dream, there are so many good things that will come towards you and for you that you're going to go like, where did this stuff come from? Because you made it into an existence.
Yeah, it's all starts in your head. Everything that exists started in someone's imagination.
Exactly. Everything the thing that we're doing now with Zoom and webcams and computers somebody dreamed that, and bless them for doing that, because now I get to have fun talking to other people, and I absolutely love
Around
it.
the world.
Around the world, globally. I have talked to people from Australia. I have talked to people from Canada. I have talked to people from New Zealand. I have talked to people from Africa, Britain, everywhere. It is amazing that we can have this real time connectivity, and it's because somebody dreamed it.
I can remember when I was pretty young. I must have been about 11 or 12. We went to a science museum and there were these Visiphones. I thought they were so cool. We each stood on the other side of the cabinet, and we could see each other like on television as we were talking, just like Zoom. I think of that when I'm
That
on
is
Zoom.
freaking awesome.
The technology has been around for quite a while,
Yeah.
but it's just now, I'm old enough to remember the phone systems, Bell telephone, when that was like the only thing that you could have, and you paid dearly for long distance. And God help you if you lived in Washington State, because every county was a different prefix, and it was a long distance call. I mean, you could literally be calling 3 miles away from you and they were going to charge you an arm and a leg, because, long distance was really expensive in those days.
Oh yeah.
And then along came cell phones, and well, first they broke up the telephone thing. And now I have kids that don't even know what a home phone looks like.
I was fixing to say, I think by the time my kids came along, I don't think we had the wire or the cordless phone. We didn't have the wire phone. So yeah, I'm dating myself too. But it's amazing to see the technology leaps that we've had since the time that we were kids to what you have access to now. I never would have thought I would be able to literally hold a computer in my hand. I didn't even know what computers were until I went to middle school, and we were doing things on those cassette tapes. We were learning how to write code on cassette tapes. And now look at us.
Yeah. It's just in the palm of your hand, and everyone takes it for granted.
Yeah, exactly.
But it started with someone's imagination.
It sure did. And it's, if you like to read or understand more about imagination, the person I absolutely love to read is Neville Goddard.
Yes.
And Florence Scovel. Those two are the best. There's actually a YouTuber I follow, Scott. I cannot remember his last name, but he is really good at diving in to those books and giving you the detail and the why behind it. And I tell you what, that is when I realized how I could start changing the way I think. And the words that you say, going back to the breaking the patterns in the inner child, the words that you say hold so much power. And how you speak to yourself, how you talk to others is all about that power. You can play the victim role and stay in that victim role, or you can say, you know what, I take back my power from how you speak. There's a reason why this little sign behind me, this is the reason why I keep that up there. And it's because it's talking about thinking positively. And that is why I keep it up there, because all of these things that we do and enjoy ourselves and encourage and relax, that is part of rearranging and redoing your life. And I am not telling you, you have to go big or go home. Some of our purpose for some of our lives is just to be here, just to talk to other people. It might be just to be here, just to talk to a person randomly on the street that you didn't know that you were going to talk to that day and make them feel better. It doesn't have to be like Tony Robbins or Les Brown, although that is my goal. And I absolutely adore those people that can get on stage and inspire people to really change their lives. And that, in the core of it, is what I want to leave you with today. Is I want you to be able to look at yourself, change how you think, and make yourself happy. Grow in your own personal growth the way that you want to grow. It doesn't have to be me or Jill or anybody else telling you how to do it, although we would love for you to come join us, because we have the tools in our toolbox to give you. And once you get those tools, nobody else can take those away from you. I promise you that.
And once you have the tools, then you can help others. It's like put on the mask first and then help the person next to you.
Exactly. I didn't start out changing myself because I didn't think I would be able to help anybody else. And then when I realized that there's so many out there that needs to hear my story, and I'm telling y'all what, I got to be a co-author, and the book of it is called Relentless Empowering Through Adversity. And the main author is Dr. Nelson Belteshazzar. And there's 20 of us in this book. And to read the stories that people have overcome some of the worst atrocities in their life, and to be able to get those words out there so people know, hey, I've been through this and I can help you, is immense. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a story out there to tell, whether you want to do it on stage or write a book or come on a podcast or just talk to the people that you know that when you walk past that your heartstrings is pulling on to talk to. Do that. There is a reason why some of us have went through some of these atrocities, and let's don't make it a useless thing that we went through.
Right. Help each other. It's really the bottom line.
Yeah.
So how can people get in touch with you, Dawn?
So I am all over social media, and that is a good question. You can find me on Spotify. I have a podcast called Your Transformation Journey. You can find me wherever podcasts are. I'm also on YouTube. So it's also Your Transformation Journey. I am on Facebook, and I also have a website called dawnlongcoach.com. And you can find me in those areas as well. And I'm also on TikTok. I'm getting a little bit proficient or better at TikTok, so we'll wait and see how that goes.
It's kind of a different sort of social media.
Yes, it is, but it is also fun.
It is. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll be sure and put all those links in the notes for the show.
Awesome. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you having me on. And I don't know if you have a sign off, but if you would allow me to do a sign off, because I love
it.
So whether you know it or not, whether you believe it or not, you're loved. You are the beacon of hope, and you are unstoppable. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.